Look at the people around you. Truly look at them. What do you see? You see open books. You see walking, breathing targets who broadcast their every insecurity, every desire, and every fleeting emotion to a world that is silently taking notes. Society has conditioned you to believe that wearing your heart on your sleeve is a virtue. They tell you that being vulnerable is a sign of strength, that expressing your every frustration, joy and sorrow makes you authentic. But in the ruthless arena of human dynamics, this emotional transparency is not a virtue. It is blood in the water. It is the exact mechanism by which you hand over the remote control of your mind to anyone who wishes to use it. When you react, you are ruled. When you display your anger, your sadness, or your desperate need for validation, you are giving away the very codes to your psychological vault. You become predictable, and in the game of power, predictability is a death sentence. To be predictable is to be easily manipulated, easily distracted, and easily destroyed. There is a different path, a path walked by the few who truly understand the mechanics of power, influence, and human nature. It is the path of becoming emotionally dangerous. Let us be entirely clear about what this means. Being emotionally dangerous does not mean being physically threatening, aggressive, or prone to outbursts. In fact, it is the exact opposite. Aggression is a leak of emotional energy. It is a display of a lack of control. To be emotionally dangerous is to possess a mind so heavily fortified, an aura so deeply impenetrable, that others realize their words, their insults, and their manipulations simply cannot touch you. It is the absolute mastery of your internal state. When you master your emotions, you strip the world of its ability to pull your strings. You become an enigma. You become a void that absorbs their provocations and returns. Nothing but a chilling, calculated silence. This is the essence of becoming untouchable. Consider the emotional economy of your daily life. Every interaction is a transaction of energy. When someone insults you, they are not merely throwing words. They are extending a hook. They are making a bid for your emotional currency. If you become angry, if you defend yourself, if you show visible distress, you have accepted the transaction. You have paid them with your peace of mind. You have validated their existence and their power over you. But what happens when you refuse to pay? What happens when the insult lands and you simply look at them, your expression completely blank, your eyes utterly hollow of any reaction? The transaction fails. The hook catches nothing but empty air. The power they attempted to steal from you instantly rebounds back upon them, leaving them feeling foolish, exposed, and deeply unsettled. Your non-reaction is infinitely more terrifying than any counterattack. You could have shouted. It signals a level of self-control that the average person cannot even comprehend. It makes you a psychological fortress. Throughout history, the most powerful figures, the ones who commanded empires and orchestrated grand strategies, understood this fundamental truth. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the necessity of separating emotion from action. A ruler who operates on anger or pity is a blind ruler, easily led into traps by those who know how to trigger those specific feelings. Robert Greene, in his relentless exploration of power, emphasizes the law of formlessness. Water has no shape, and therefore it cannot be grasped, it cannot be cut, and it cannot be broken. When your emotions are visible, you have a rigid shape. You give your enemies a target to strike. But when you are emotionally detached, you become like water. You adapt, you observe, and you remain fundamentally untouched by the chaotic storms that consume everyone else around you. The process of becoming emotionally dangerous begins with the death of your ego's need to be understood. Most people are obsessed with explaining themselves. When they are wronged, they desperately want the other person to know how much it hurt. They want an apology. They want justice. They want the world to validate their pain. You must kill this desire completely. The world does not care about your pain, and those who seek to manipulate you will only use your explanations as a map of your weaknesses. When you stop needing people to understand your feelings, you sever the thickest chain that binds you to their opinions. You realize that your internal state is a sovereign territory. No one enters unless you open the gates. If someone misunderstands you, let them. If someone misjudges your character based on their own flawed perceptions, allow them to dwell in their ignorance. Correcting them requires emotional investment. It requires you to step down from your throne and negotiate with peasants. An emotionally dangerous individual does not negotiate their reality. They simply exist within it, entirely unbothered by the background noise of lesser minds. Think about the sheer panic that ensues when people encounter someone they cannot read. Human beings are biologically wired to seek emotional feedback. We smile, we wait for a smile back. We yell, we expect fear or anger in return. When this feedback loop is broken, the human brain panics. It perceives the absence of emotion as a profound threat. If you sit in a negotiation, a debate, or an argument, and you absorb the other person's frantic energy, without returning a single drop of it, you automatically become the dominant force in the room. They will begin to talk more, trying to fill the uncomfortable silence. They will over-explain, they will make concessions, and they will eventually reveal their true intentions. All because your silence has driven them to the edge of their own insecurity. You didn't have to raise your voice. You didn't have to make a threat. You simply withheld your emotional currency, and they bankrupted themselves trying to buy it from you. This level of detachment requires a brutal honesty with yourself. You must observe your own triggers. What words make your heart race? What situations make you feel the desperate urge to speak? These are your vulnerabilities. These are the loose threads that anyone can pull to unravel you. You must sit with these triggers in silence. When the urge to react rises within you, you must learn to watch it pass like a dark cloud moving across a clear sky. You do not fight the cloud, but you also do not let it block your sun. You observe the anger, you observe the humiliation, but you refuse to let it dictate your physical actions or your facial expressions. You trap the emotion within the labyrinth of your mind, analyze it coldly, and extract the data it provides without ever letting it bleed into the physical world. This is not suppression. Suppression is burying a bomb that will eventually explode. This is alchemy. It is taking the raw, chaotic energy of an emotional trigger and transmuting it into cold, hard focus. When you transmute this energy, a profound shift occurs in your reality. You step out of the matrix of reactive behavior and into the realm of the untouchable. But make no mistake, the world will not simply accept your new armor without a fight. The people in your life, especially those who have grown accustomed to feasting on your emotional responses, will immediately sense the change. They will realize that their old keys no longer fit your locks. And when people lose control over you, they do not quietly retreat. They escalate. They will launch testing campaigns. They will throw harsher insults, manufacture artificial crises, and play the victim with theatrical desperation, all in a frantic bid to drag you back down into the mud of emotional chaos. This is the crucial crucible. This is where your emotional danger is truly forged. You must expect the escalation and view it not as a threat, but as a confirmation of your growing power. When they raise their voices, you must lower yours. When they speed up their frantic demands, you must slow down your movements. You must become the chilling counterweight to their hysteria. Imagine a storm raging against a mountain. The storm screams, it hurls lightning, it tears at the stone. But the mountain does not scream back. It simply remains. Eventually, the storm exhausts itself and breaks against the unyielding stone. You must be that mountain. The foundation of this psychological mountain is the mastery of the pause. In normal conversation, people operate on a rapid-fire rhythm. Statement, immediate reaction. Insult, immediate defense. Question, immediate answer. The emotionally dangerous individual completely shatters this rhythm. When someone directs a loaded statement at you or asks a probing, manipulative question, do not answer immediately. Look at them. Let a full 3, 4, or 5 seconds pass in absolute silence. Hold their gaze without blinking, without smiling, and without frowning. This deliberate pause is one of the most terrifying weapons in the psychological arsenal. In those few seconds of silence, the other person's brain will flood with anxiety. They will hear their own words echo in the void you created, and they will begin to second-guess themselves. They will wonder if they went too far, They will wonder what you are thinking. They will feel the overwhelming weight of your judgment, even though you haven't spoken a single word. By controlling the timing of your response, you have instantly seized control of the entire interaction. You dictate the pace. You dictate the atmosphere. And when you finally do speak, your words will carry 10 times the weight because they were born from calculated stillness, not frantic reaction. Consider how this applies to the power dynamics of relationships. Those who wear their hearts on their sleeves are constantly seeking reassurance. They text too much, they explain too much, and they demand constant validation of their worth. They are emotional beggars. But the emotionally dangerous individual does not beg. They command. Because they do not need the emotional validation of others to feel whole, they are perfectly comfortable walking away. And in the brutal mathematics of human desire, people place the highest value on that which they cannot easily possess or fully understand. When you are emotionally detached, you become a puzzle that others desperately want to solve. They will chase you. They will try to win your favor, hoping to catch a glimpse of the emotions you so carefully conceal. By withholding your emotional baseline, you turn the tables. Instead of you seeking their approval, they begin to seek yours. You become the prize, simply by virtue of being self-contained and unbothered. Machiavelli understood that the display of emotion, whether positive or negative, is a strategic vulnerability. It is not just anger and sadness that you must conceal. It is also excessive joy, over-eagerness, and blind optimism. When you show your enemies exactly what makes you happy, you hand them the blueprint for how to bribe you or how to crush your spirit. If they know your deepest desires, they can dangle those desires in front of you like a carrot on a stick, leading you exactly where they want you to go. To be truly untouchable, your resting state must be one of mild, detached amusement. You observe the world as if you are watching a slightly predictable play. Success does not make you euphoric. It simply confirms your calculations. Failure does not make you depressed. It merely provides new data for your next maneuver. This level of stoicism is deeply unsettling to the average mind. It creates an aura of intimidation. People will project their own fears and insecurities onto your blank canvas. They will assume you know something they don't. They will assume you are 10 steps ahead, simply because you are not reacting to the present moment like a typical, emotionally driven human being. Let us delve deeper into the mechanics of dealing with the specific predators that roam our society. The narcissists, the manipulators, and the emotional vampires. These individuals survive exclusively by feeding on the emotional reactions of their victims. They provoke you to feel powerful. They play the victim to make you feel guilty. They gaslight you to make you doubt your own sanity. The absolute worst thing you can do when dealing with these predators is to engage with them on an emotional level. If you try to argue with a narcissist, you lose. If you try to show a manipulator how much they have hurt you, you give them a trophy. The only way to defeat them is to starve them. You must become a gray rock. When they launch an attack, you give them nothing. No anger, no tears, no justification, no explanation. You offer only brief, non-committal responses. You drain all the color and life out of your interactions with them. Without the oxygen of your emotional reaction, their manipulative tactics simply suffocate and die. They will eventually seek out easier prey, deeply frustrated by their inability to crack your armor. This is not passive resistance. It is aggressive psychological warfare conducted through the medium of absolute nothingness. Being emotionally dangerous also grants you the supreme power of clarity. When your mind is not clouded by the dense fog of rage, anxiety, or desperate attachment, you see the world exactly as it is, not as you wish it to be. Emotional people are perpetually blind. They are blinded by their biases, their hopes, and their fears. They miss the subtle red flags in a business partner. They ignore the hidden agendas of their supposed friends. They walk willingly into traps because their emotions convince them that the bait is exactly what they need. But when you detach, your vision sharpens. You begin to notice the micro-expressions on people's faces. You hear the slight hesitation in their voices. You see the true motivations hiding behind their noble-sounding words. You become a reader of human nature, a silent observer who calculates every variable, while others are busy reacting to illusions. This clarity is what allows you to anticipate betrayal before it happens, to recognize an opportunity while others are paralyzed by fear, and to maneuver through the complexities of life with the lethal precision of a grandmaster, moving pieces on a chessboard. To cultivate this state, you must embrace the concept of radical solitude. Not necessarily physical isolation, although periods of physical solitude are essential, but psychological solitude. You must build a fortress within your own mind, a place where no one else's opinions, judgments, or emotional outbursts are allowed entry. In this inner sanctum, you are the absolute sovereign. You must practice the art of witnessing your own life from a third-person perspective. When a crisis hits, imagine you are floating above the scene, watching yourself and the other players. Ask yourself, what is the most strategic move here? What does my ego want to do? And what does cold logic dictate I must do? By constantly separating your observing self from your experiencing self, you build a muscle of emotional detachment. Over time, this muscle becomes so strong that nothing the world throws at you can shake your core. You realize that you cannot control the actions of others, the cruelty of fate, or the inherent chaos of the universe. The only thing you truly own, the only territory you can completely dominate, is your own mind. And when you conquer that territory, when you become the undisputed master of your internal state, the external world loses its grip on you entirely. You become the architect of your own emotional reality, untouchable, unbreakable, and profoundly dangerous to anyone who attempts to control you. Once you have fortified the internal walls of your fortress, you must learn the art of the offensive. Being emotionally dangerous is not merely a defensive posture. It is a tactical advantage that allows you to dismantle the psychological structures of those around you without ever firing a shot. The most potent expression of this power is the mirror effect. In a world of reactive people, your silence becomes a vacuum. Humans are naturally compelled to fill voids. When you offer no emotional feedback, the other person begins to project their own deepest insecurities onto you. They start to wonder if you are judging them, if you see through their lies, or if you are simply unimpressed by their presence. Because you are not giving them the social script they expect, they begin to stumble, they lose their rhythm, they reveal their hands. You are essentially holding up a mirror to their own chaos. And most people are terrified of what they see, when there is no external noise to distract them from themselves. This is the moment you transition from being a target to being the architect of their discomfort. You are not doing anything to them. You are simply allowing their own internal instability to do the work for you. Think of the social mask as a tool of war. Machiavelli emphasized that the appearance of virtue is often more important than virtue itself. An emotionally dangerous person understands that their true self is a sacred secret, but their social persona is a calculated performance. You can smile when it is strategic to smile. You can express concern when it serves your long-term goal. But because these expressions are not born from genuine, uncontrolled emotion, you can switch them off in a heartbeat. This makes you terrifyingly efficient. While others are being swept away by the heat of the moment, you are standing in the middle of the room, perfectly cool, choosing exactly which mask to wear for the next 10 minutes. This is the essence of the poker face of power. It is not about being a robot. It is about being the director of your own drama. When you are the only person in the room whose internal temperature never changes, you become the sun around which everyone else is forced to orbit. They will watch you for cues. They will look to you for stability. And in that looking, they grant you the authority you never had to ask for. Consider the dynamic of the active silence in leadership and negotiation. Most people believe that to win an argument, they must have the last word. They believe that volume equals authority. But the master of emotional danger knows that the person who speaks the least usually holds the most power. When you are in a conflict and you allow the other person to vent their rage, to make their demands and to exhaust their vocabulary. You are gaining a massive data advantage. Every word they speak in anger is a vulnerability revealed. Every demand they make is a map of their needs. When they finally stop, gasping for breath and waiting for your counterattack, and you simply wait another few seconds before asking a calm, detached question, you have won. You have shown them that their entire emotional outburst had zero impact on your core. You have rendered their primary weapon useless. They will feel a sense of profound exhaustion while you remain energized and focused. You have not just won the argument, you have established a permanent psychological hierarchy. This detachment also allows you to master the art of the strategic exit. Most people are enslaved by their attachments to jobs, to relationships, to reputations, and to social circles. This attachment is a leash. The person who is most willing to walk away is always the person with the most power in any negotiation. Because you have mastered your internal state, your sense of worth is not tied to any external entity. If a deal is not favorable, you can walk away without a second thought. If a relationship becomes toxic or manipulative, you can sever the tie with surgical precision. You do not experience the paralyzing fear of loss that keeps most people trapped in miserable circumstances. Your willingness to lose everything makes you impossible to threaten. You are dangerous because you cannot be bribed with what you do not crave, and you cannot be intimidated by the threat of what you are already prepared to leave behind. This is the ultimate freedom. It is the freedom of the predator who knows that the entire world is a hunting ground, and no single territory is indispensable. Furthermore, the emotionally dangerous individual possesses the rare ability to utilize calculated cruelty when necessary. This is not the cruelty of the bully or the sadist, which is always born from a place of insecurity. This is the cruelty of the surgeon. There are times in life when empathy is a liability. There are times when a situation requires a cold, hard decision that will cause pain to others but is necessary for the greater strategy. An emotional person will hesitate. They will succumb to guilt. They will try to please everyone and end up sabotaging themselves. But you, with your detached clarity, can see the move that must be made. You can deliver the no that needs to be said. You can terminate the partnership that is dragging you down. You can witness the emotional fallout without letting it penetrate your shield. You understand that in the grand strategy of life, short-term discomfort is often the price of long-term dominance. Your ability to act without the interference of misplaced guilt makes you a force of nature, predictable only in your commitment to your own objectives. We must also discuss the power of the mystery. In a digital age where everyone is oversharing, privacy has become a luxury and mystery has become a superpower. When you do not post your every thought, when you do not explain your absences, and when you do not give people a reason for your moods, you create a vacuum of information. People's imaginations are far more vivid than reality. By being emotionally dangerous and keeping your internal world hidden, you force others to invent stories about you. They will attribute to you more power, more intelligence, and more deviousness than you might even possess. You become a legend in their minds. This mystery acts as a powerful deterrent. People are hesitant to strike at what they do not understand. They will tread carefully around you, fearing that any move they make might be playing right into a trap they cannot see. You don't need to tell people you are dangerous. Your silence and your lack of transparency will shout it for you. To sustain this level of influence, you must become a master of emotional observation. You must study people as if they are complex biological machines. Observe what makes them flinch. Observe what makes their eyes light up with greed. Observe the tiny cracks in their confidence when a certain topic is mentioned. Because you are not busy managing your own emotional outbursts, you have the bandwidth to see everything. This information is your ammunition. When the time is right, you can use these observations to influence them, to guide them, or to neutralize them. You aren't being malicious. You are simply playing the game according to the rules of human nature. You are the only sober person at a party where everyone else is drunk on their own feelings. This sobriety gives you a tactical edge that cannot be overcome by mere passion or effort. You see the strings, and therefore you can cut them. You see the traps, and therefore you can walk around them. You see the prize, and while everyone else is fighting over the crumbs of emotional validation, you are moving quietly and efficiently toward the throne. To reach this level of emotional danger is to accept a profound and irreversible truth. The throne of self-mastery is a solitary one. Most people cannot live without the constant buzzing noise of external validation. They need the crowd to tell them they are good. They need their enemies to tell them they are noticed. And they need their lovers to tell them they are worthy. But the untouchable individual has burnt those bridges to the ground. You have realized that any hand that feeds your ego is a hand that can eventually choke your spirit. This is the price of the cold throne. It is the realization that to be beyond control, you must be willing to be misunderstood. You must be willing to be seen as cold, as calculating, or even as heartless by those who are still drowning in their own chaotic sentiments. Do not pity them, and certainly do not explain yourself to them. Their judgment is based on a reality you have already outgrown. You are no longer playing the same game as the masses. While they are fighting for scraps of attention in the social theater, you are the one observing the architecture of the theater itself, looking for the exits, the trapdoors, and the levers of power. This final stage of mastery is where you integrate your emotional danger into your long-term strategy. Life is not a series of isolated battles. It is a single, continuous campaign. People who react emotionally are focused on the now. They want to win the argument today, even if it destroys the relationship tomorrow. They want to satisfy their anger in this moment, even if it creates a permanent enemy for the future. You, however, operate on a different temporal scale. Because your emotions do not cloud your vision, you can see 20 moves ahead. You understand that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is to let someone believe they have won. You can endure a temporary slight, a minor humiliation, or a perceived defeat with a calm smile, knowing that you are merely baiting a larger trap. Your detachment gives you the patience of a predator. You can wait weeks, months, or even years for the perfect moment to strike, while your opponent has long since forgotten the initial encounter, lulled into a false sense of security by your lack of reaction. This is the ultimate Machiavellian patience. It is the ability to stay cold while the world burns, waiting for the smoke to clear so you can claim the ruins. Furthermore, being emotionally dangerous means you have mastered the law of attraction through repulsion. In human psychology, there is a perverse gravity to those who do not care. The more you seek someone's approval, the faster they run from you. The more you try to convince someone of your value, the less they believe you. But when you are truly detached, when you are genuinely indifferent to whether someone stays or leaves, you create a powerful psychological vacuum. People become obsessed with filling that void. They will find themselves thinking about you at odd hours, wondering why their usual charms don't work on you. They will try harder to impress you. They will offer you more than they ever intended to give, all in a desperate attempt to elicit a single spark of genuine emotion from your impenetrable core. By being dangerous enough to not need them, you become the most magnetic person in their world. You don't have to chase power. Power will find its way to your doorstep, seeking the stability that only a detached mind can provide. But let us be clear, this path is not for the weak of heart. It requires a daily, hourly commitment to the death of the people-pleaser within you. Every time you feel the urge to explain your actions, you must kill it. Every time you feel the need to defend your reputation, you must suppress it. Every time you feel the fire of anger rising in your throat, you must swallow it and turn it into fuel for your focus. You are rebuilding your entire nervous system. You are training yourself to find pleasure in your own silence and strength in your own solitude. This is not about becoming a hermit. It is about becoming a god in your own social circle. You can walk through the most chaotic environments, deal with the most toxic people, and face the most daunting challenges, all while maintaining a heartbeat that never quickens. This is the untouchable state. It is the realization that you are the only constant in your universe, and as long as you remain beyond control, the universe has no choice but to bend to your will. Now look back at your own life. Look at the moments where you lost your temper, where you begged for a second chance, or where you allowed someone's words to keep you awake at night. In those moments, you were a slave. You were an open book that anyone could deface. But that version of you is dead. By reaching the end of this journey, you have been given the keys to a different existence. You have been shown the blueprint of the fortress. The only question that remains is, are you ready to inhabit it? Are you ready to stop being the victim of your own chemistry and start being the architect of your own dominance? Or will you slide back into the comfortable, noisy, and predictable life of the emotional masses? Think deeply about this. Who in your life right now is holding your emotional remote control? Who is the person that can ruin your day with a single text or a single look? And more importantly, what are you going to do today to reclaim that power? The laws of human nature are cold and unforgiving, but for those who master them, they are the tools of ultimate liberation. If you have recognized yourself in these words, if you feel the weight of this truth, then you are already standing at the gates of the fortress. If you belong to the few who seek power over comfort and strategy over emotion, then you have found your sanctuary. We do not deal in illusions here. We deal in the raw mechanics of influence and self-mastery. If this resonance has reached you, show your mark of presence by liking this video. It is the silent signal that you are beginning to observe rather than react. If you are ready to delve deeper into the shadows of human psychology and the timeless laws of Robert Greene, subscribe and join this elite circle. We are building a library of the mind, a collection of strategies for those who refuse to be ruled. Stay silent, stay observant, and above all, stay dangerous. Until our next session in the shadows, remember, the only person who can truly own you is the person who controls your emotions. Do not let it be anyone but yourself.